As you can see from that intro, welcome to something new from Comic Book Nation, the only show that does it all for geek culture and the official podcast of comicbook.com. I'm your host, Kofi Outlaw, and I am happy today to be here with a little surprise for you guys. As you know, Comic Book Nation has become a whole nation out here. We just had a successful spinoff run with Riptide Radio, our Percy Jackson after show, and we thought, hey man, there's another area we've been waiting to really jump into, and that is gaming. So we are here with Quick Save, our Comic Book Nation gaming segment, where we will be able to focus on much more of the biggest gaming news, getting in depth, telling you guys what's going on in the gaming world. And to help us do that, we have two of our regulars from the main show. Mr. Logan Moore and Mr. Cade Onder are here, and they will be hosting Quick Save. So that's my whole spiel. This is Comic Book Nation. Subscribe to everything because we have, like I said, many shows coming your way, including Quick Save. But Logan, Cade, take it away and just tell us, what are we getting into today? Because there's a reason we're launching today.
Yeah, right? I mean, yeah, we've when we did our Indiana Jones thing a couple weeks ago, talking about that, we kind of teased that we might have some more stuff cooking in the background, and this is that. So moving forward, we're going to be doing this show semi-routinely. I'm thinking today we're launching in tandem. We've got Suicide Squad game coming out this week, which we're going to talk about later in the show. Cade and I have been playing that, and within the past day, a huge PlayStation State of Play event happened, which was far larger in scope than I think the last few of these have been. So there's a lot of stuff from that we're going to dive into. And yeah, let's just get right into that up front here. PlayStation State of Play, that happened yesterday. There were probably, 8 to 10 big games from that showcase, Cade, that showed up. I think the biggest one, though, that we're going to start here talking about is Death Stranding 2, which was revealed to close the show. That trailer was about 5 to 6 minutes in length. And
9 minutes.
Was it 9 minutes, really?
Yeah.
I mean, Kojima always goes over the top for his Death Stranding trailers there. But this trailer is crazy, and I don't really know what to make of it. Cade, what were your immediate reactions? I mean, I think same as me. My big takeaway was just that this game looks unreal with its visuals. Like, this might be the best game we've seen so far in development for PS5. What were your big takeaways here?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the idea of Death Stranding 1, but found it to be very clunky and very monotonous. But I was like, I appreciate that he was able to make this and that other people really enjoy it and it was successful so that they can keep doing whatever the hell they want to do. And I saw this and I was like, you know what? They got me. They got electric guitars that shoot electricity. They have samurai guys. They got talking puppets that
they've got George Miller.
They got George Miller with a bat cat, whatever that is. I'm all in on the weirdness. The moon is all big. They got deserts. They got water. It looks cool. I'm all in on that. So it genuinely, I wouldn't say I wasn't interested after the reveal trailer in 2022.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, I'm not chomping at the bit for this, but after seeing this, I'm like, this is one of my most anticipated games now.
I've always said that the trailers for the Death Stranding games I enjoy 10 times more than the actual game, and I like the game a lot, but I just like this 9-minute craziness. Like, no one else comes out with trailers of this length, and dedicating a 9-minute slot in a PlayStation State of Play to only one game is something that doesn't really happen too often unless it's a specific presentation for one game in particular. I think, visually, it looks awesome. I have no idea what to make out of the story so far. There's just, I think the one takeaway here, we're seeing on screen, they show a weapons room. It seems like they're going to lean more heavily into combat this time around. Even Troy Baker's character kind of comes back at the end and says something that kind of teasing, you're carrying a weapon this time more predominantly. That's even what I forget what his name. He's a porter. That's what his role is inside. He's like, porters. Yeah, even a porter's got to carry weapons nowadays. So, I don't know. This game's coming out in 2025. This is definitely one of the biggest PS5 games on the horizon. Matt, Kofi, did you guys have any big takeaways from this one in particular for yourselves?
I've still been scared to jump into the first game. There was such a weird split discourse about this game that I was like, I don't know if I'll ever be able to look at my infant children again the same way. So I was just kind of hesitant because I didn't think about them as batteries and whatnot. And I was just like, I'm going to skip this. So I have no dog in this fight yet, but I think this is kind of like what happened to me with The Last of Us, which is I never jumped into the first game until the second game came around, and there was so much talk about what the second game had done to improve that it got me back to go back and finally get back into the first game. So I'm feeling like this could be the thing that happens to me with Death Stranding. Like pretty soon, by this time, like in a year or two, I'll probably be like the weirdest Death Stranding head out here wearing my own kind of fake baby packs and running around.
Are you going to be a stan?
Yeah, probably. I get obsessed with things, and I do it late, but then I don't. Doesn't stop me from like going down the rabbit hole hard. So
Death Stranding.
I'm kind of interested. Like this one does look like.
You're welcome.
It was such an ambitious game and world building the first time that I feel like some of the dynamics of the actual play. It's like when people build extravagant bars but forget to put hooks under the bar so you can just hang your stuff. Like I feel like it's one of those. So I feel like this is a kind of case where in the second game you can really focus on smoothing out the actual experience and the mechanics, and we could
of being a mailman.
Yo, bro, mailman work is mail person work, Matt, is not easy. So like,
and they're gonna save the world. So I think you're underselling their role in our society.
Yeah, I mean, the dynamics,
beautiful.
Like that avalanche, that moon, the avalanche, just like already the imagery. I mean, this game is like Dragon Ball. It's just living off imagery alone sometimes, I feel like, and just I'm not mad at any of this. I feel like this game is going to get me back into the whole series.
You know how some people feel, I don't feel this way, but some people feel this way about like the Final Fantasy games. And actually you could just say this about Japanese RPGs in general. Like they're very much like, oh, if I could just watch the cutscenes and then like not play the game. And I'm that way. Like there's just nothing about the first game left me like, oh yeah, I want to play another round of this. But it looks absolutely stunning. And I'm so intrigued by the story elements that it's like, I don't want to play the game. I just want to watch all the cutscenes, you know?
Yeah.
And like that's how I feel. Like this is one of those games I could totally watch someone else play. Like that would actually be, this is like what Twitch is made for. I would watch someone else play this and see and get all those big moments and weird WTF things about it. So in that case, I'm very curious, like, especially this whole angle has me, I really want to know what's going on there. But yeah, I don't think I'll play it. I just don't. I don't know. There was nothing about the first one that really sank its hooks into me.
I mean, at the end of the day, for me, it's Kojima, so I have to play it. Like that's just kind of the rule of my life.
I understand.
So like that's where I'm at with it. Speaking of Kojima, speaking of Kojima and cooking, he's now got 4 projects in the works. He's got Death Stranding 2. He's got OD, which is the game with Xbox, which we have absolutely no idea what that is based on the teaser. He's then making a Death Stranding movie, which he's not directing or anything, but he's obviously heavily involved in that. And then the big announcement at the end of this state of play is that he is returning to the action espionage genre, which is the genre of the Metal Gear Solid series. And he is making a new game that he is currently just calling Fizzant, I believe is what it is titled. No details about this at all. This is a partnership between Kojima Productions and PlayStation. This game
and Columbia Pictures.
And Columbia Pictures,
like a movie game.
Yeah,
nobody knows what this is.
Well, I'll say we could talk about that. As far as the other details about it, this is a PS6 game, right? Like he said, this is a next generation game. Like he said that they're not going to start working on it really seriously until Death Stranding 2 is out the door, which means this thing doesn't enter production until next year at some point. So this game is 2028, 2029, I would imagine.
Come on, man. Like, I just got my PS5. So what are we talking about here? Like, I literally just got this thing, and now we're already talking about like big games for the next gen. Come on, man.
This is either the launch of the next system or the Last of Us, style, like, hey, this ends a generation. This is, everyone will be right about them will be like, this is what the PS5 is truly capable of, and then the PS6 will come out a year later. Like that's typically how these console cycles work. So I would bet on it because it's easily a couple years out.
this sounds weird. This might be my most anticipated game in general, though. Now, like Metal Gear Solid is my favorite video game franchise. So I know there is literally no details out about this whatsoever. But the fact that Kojima's just like, yeah, I'm going to do another one of those games, even though I get that it's not Metal Gear, but like him even returning to that genre is like hugely exciting to me. Metal Gear Solid 5 rules. Like, I know a lot of people don't like that game. That's maybe like one of the best third-person action games ever created. So if he does anything even remotely close to that, like this game is going to be out of the park. Like, I'm so excited for this.
I think it's exciting, one, because the ambition behind it is very interesting. I think the idea that the way this was presented with PlayStation's like boss of like the first party studios, Herman Holst,
yeah,
and he was like, we've been begging him to do this, like, and that suggests to me they're going to invest heavily in this. If they're letting him go this crazy for Death Stranding, a franchise that is already like divisive is maybe too strong of a word, but like not for everyone for sure.
Yeah,
I can only imagine what they're going to do with a franchise that works with his like DNA, his bread and butter, right? Like his whole career is built off this genre. And so I'm excited to see how far I mean, the fact that they're like, yeah, he's making a movie that's also a video game is like, that's a crazy statement to make.
I think you could say that about Metal Gear Solid 4, though. To be honest, that game has like 12 to 15 hours of cutscenes, which are all cinematically shot, and like that game is practically a movie in a lot of ways. So I feel like this is just going to be an extension of that in a lot of ways, except technology and how they film these things. Yeah. Like how they film things nowadays on sound stages and with like just capture equipment and things like that. Like it's probably just going to be a larger production of kind of that sort of tech is what I'm envisioning. He said that he's got 30 years of experience on this genre. He got his 40th year of game productions coming up. He said that this is going to be the culmination of his life's work. Like some of the things he was saying makes me think that he feels like he's like running out of time to make things like this. And he's like, I got to make one more. Like he even put out a tweet last night too, that was like, every day I'm alive, people are asking me to make another game in this genre. So here you go. I'm going to do it finally. So
I feel like he was born to be a wrestler. He gives retirement promos incredibly well. He like rivals John Cena in that respect.
I mean, he said every Metal Gear game, I think since like Metal Gear 2 was going to be the last.
Yeah, this is the last one. Yeah, he's like, retired more times than Jay-Z.
Really done. They had to fire him for that to literally become true. And
yes.
He's also said semi-recently, like a month ago, he was like, I will never retire because I live to create. Like he's like, I can't imagine myself on this planet without creating. So like this man's gonna be making stuff till he dies. Like he's pretty, and he's already spoken about too, like Kojima Productions is like not just a video game studio. He wants it to eventually be like a multimedia thing with probably like books and music, and he even mentioned something about music either during this presentation.
It was during the presentation. Like he cited that like he likes partnering with Sony because they have experience in movies and music and other forms of tech that he's interested in, which is why he likes to work with them. I think I mean this is a whole larger discussion and we won't get too deep into it, but I'm always so curious about people like him and like Sam Lake over at Remedy, like how how these auteur types have all these ideas bouncing around in their heads constantly and they're able to juggle it all. Like how are you making something as crazy as Death Stranding 2 while making this crazy weird looking horror game, and then in the background you're like, oh, also I'm gonna make a new spy action game while I'm at it. Like I feel like I'm mentally drained after an 8-hour day here of just writing about this stuff and covering it, let alone making it. So anyway, let's start running through quickly with a couple of the other things that happened during this presentation. We got a new look at Silent Hill. Well, there's a new Silent Hill game that shadow dropped, Silent Hill The Message. I don't know if any of us have played that yet or if anybody is going to.
I have downloaded the demo. I have not, or I've downloaded it. I haven't played it yet. I haven't had a chance.
I'm going to download it in case it is PT2 and they scrub it from the PlayStation Store for eternity here. I don't know if I'll play it.
It's really bad.
Is it really bad?
It's awful. Like, does not give me hope for the future of Silent Hill.
Well,
I was like really excited. I was like, oh, like just a free horror game to play. It's not scary. And do you want me to tell you what it's about? Do you know?
Not really.
anything about it?
I
Okay.
want to lead that to talk about Silent Hill 2 more predominantly
Okay.
here, to be honest, because this doesn't look good either. Like this
Yeah.
remake looks really bad, and this is the first time we've seen gameplay from this. I think outside of maybe a couple brief snippets of the previous trailer. Obviously, Bloober Team is making this, so it's not in-house at Konami. This just looks rough. Like
It looks kind of budget, right?
yeah,
Like, it looks like one of the later Silent Hill games that they put out on Xbox 360, you know, where it was like, this feels like you've pulled back a bit on this franchise.
Well, the trailer ended with them not giving a release date, and they just said it's still in development. And I was like, well, I would hope so. Like, you know, like there's a lot of hitchiness in this trailer. The frame pacing looks bad. I mean, just the gunplay.
Well, it's one of those
stiff.
things. It's weird because I'm still excited for this because Silent Hill 2 is one of my favorite games of all time.
Right.
I adore the early Silent Hill games and actually some of the later ones as well. But I will say it's a weird focus. They focused on Silent Hill's like weakest aspect is combat. It's always been combat. Even in the games I adore, combat is literally the least.
You don't
it's the thing you don't want to do. It
like a machete and still not hitting anything and still
right? No, I don't.
Come on, bro.
I don't like.
Of it.
I don't like having a bead on someone and then literally like aiming, hitting in the exact spot, and then like the bullet doesn't go anywhere near them and like goes bullet time around them. I don't like any of that. And so it's weird that like this whole trailer there's like barely any atmosphere. Like we get a little bit right there where it's the fog and stuff, but like it's all combat. It's all melee stuff. The, you know, mashing of the button stuff is actually like that kind of stuff is cool because it guarantees they're like closer to you and things. But like it's just it's so weird. It would be like, I don't know, it would be like putting a Tekken 8 trailer out and then going like, well, here's all the microtransactions, and that'd be the whole trailer, and like never looking at the gameplay. It's so weird. Why would you focus on that?
It's one thing if you're releasing a trailer like this, you know, like closer to the launch of a game. It's another when this is literally the first time we've seen gameplay and the first time we've seen the game in about like 18 months or something like that. Like people have been really waiting to see more of this. And this showing was just not it. And
only the faintest glimpse of Pyramid Head at the very end. Come on. I just think it was a bad trailer.
Yeah,
I'm still excited. I hope they pull it out. But yeah,
I mean, just go ahead. Cody.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the question. Is like, what was the marketing team's intent here? Like, are you selling us on an action game? Because nobody ever is playing Silent Hill as an action game in the history of games or the history of people, for that matter. Like, yeah. Like nobody's ever playing this for
I
the action.
saw comparisons to the Resident Evil remakes. Like they turned Silent Hill 2 into a Resident Evil remake, and I'm like, that seems like a fair assumption, and it's not. Everyone's already had skepticism over if this development team is ready to handle this for the themes, like the narrative of the game, and now people are like, oh, we didn't even consider the fact that you might fumble the gameplay completely.
Yeah, I mean, I was about to make the joke that it's hard to like outclunk Resident Evil in terms of combat, but this looks like it's really we're making a run for that title.
The swinging animations look so weird and recycled. Like there's no like.
Yes,
I don't know.
Canned.
It's very, very strange. All right.
Also, what was that moment when he's jumping into the wind? The way the music hits and everything, you think he's about to do like the most epic dive off a cliff, and he literally just goes across the shortest. I could make that jump, and I'm not really athletically gifted. Okay, that is so weird, and the music raises.
It's an
very
epic
odd
shot.
man.
Look at that. You know,
very odd.
Got an epic
Super
crotch
odd.
shot. Boom. It's
right.
everything we love.
Let's do rapid fire and a couple quick things. I need to bring up Judas. Judas is like maybe I said the Kojima game was my most anticipated. As far as like tangible products that I can see that I know are on the horizon.
Careful, Jim Viscardi.
This is literally my my college like thesis project or like my final project to graduate was all about BioShock. So like I want to play this game. I am so excited about this. I still don't know what to make of it other than just like, yep, I'm getting BioShock vibes, and you're,
it looks like 2025 BioShock.
Yeah. I'm so hyped for this. I'm so excited to learn more. I think all these trailers are setting the tone really well and letting you know like what you're in for without giving away the story or anything like that. And it's Ken Levine. I mean, he's like my favorite game director, one of them. I mean, this whole state of play was really for my taste between Ken Levine showing off his new game and Kojima showing off his new game. Did you guys have any big takeaways on this one, just based on this brief new trailer?
Well, they said, I'm sure they've talked about this many times before, but they're like, this is going to have choices and story decisions,
narrative Legos.
You've never seen before. And I'm like, I hope they haven't shown what that is, and maybe it's for the best that they don't lean into that in the marketing, because you always set yourself up for failure, I think, when games do that, and then it's not that big of a deal. But if anyone could do that, it's Ken Levine. This game's been in development since like 2017, if not even.
Well, the ideas have been permeating since BioShock Infinite released.
Yeah.
And BioShock Infinite released in 2013. So it's been 11 years that they've been cooking this.
BioShock Infinite came out. It was successful. And he was like, I don't want to work with this many people anymore. Like, the studio is too big. The game was too big in scale. I'm firing like the majority of the studio so we can go back to a smaller team.
Well, I think he also had to work with 2K offices in like different countries like that too.
Yeah.
Like they had an office in Australia, and so he's trying to coordinate his own local team and then work across continents. And he's like, I didn't sleep for like 4 years. Basically making that game. It
sounded very chaotic, and so he's been working on this. I mean, it's safe to say like some version of this has probably been around since, like you said, BioShock Infinite in 2013, and then they like formed this new studio, which is still the old studio. It's confusing, in 2017, and now it's coming out probably. I think Take-Two said that this is expected to come out before March of 2025.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that still happens, because that was like still a while ago when they said that. Could have been delayed, but if it comes out within the next year, I mean, this could be one of the most ambitious games we've seen to date from one of our industry's greatest creators, who hasn't made a game in probably 10 years. So it's exciting. I'm
very much looking forward to this.
It looks really cool.
It looks really great. The art direction is on point. And if we're not going to get the new BioShock, whatever the heck is up with that, then I will happily take this.
About that. Yeah.
It's pretty.
It looks very good. Is there anything else that you guys wanted to talk about here? I know we had a quick rapid fire segment here. We've got Sonic Cross Shadows Generation, which is a remaster.
Never got into BioShock. I tried really hard. I played it for a long time, and I just could not.
Wow.
So
really?
Missing out.
Yeah, it's a big secret. I don't talk about it often. It's a shameful part of my past, but it's very true. I just couldn't do it. I can't. I can't.
I'm not the biggest first person shooter fan, but BioShock has this BioShock is one of those experiences that's just like completely won me over. Atmosphere, just everything about the gameplay, the mix of powers, and this just, I mean, literally what Logan said. It looks like 2025 BioShock with a whole new like slate of ideas and concepts. I was like, that looks pretty. I will say one of the ones that was kind of on the rundown was Rise of the Ronin, and I was really excited about that going into this, and then I came away not so excited.
The more I see, the less hyped I am.
Yeah, it's maybe not as grand as I hoped for.
It also looks like, I don't know, I used to love Tenchu, but like I got big Tenchu vibes from that, and like not in the, oh hey cool, like look at what you can do as a ninja, in the just like combat. I don't know, it just looked super blocky and like not fluid, and there was just something I was missing. And I mean, look, we've also had some great samurai games recently to compare it to, and also in the past we've had some good ones, and it's just, I don't know, it came out not swinging as hard as I hoped. I was looking forward to that.
Yeah,
that was kind of my thinking too. Like, we've had a lot of like feudal Japan era games lately, between Ghost of Tsushima, Sekiro is kind of in that vein, and then obviously Assassin's Creed's next game is going to be going to Japan as well. Right. So if you're coming out of the gate with one of a game in this time period, there's some stiff competition that you're up against, so you better make sure that you're really doing it right. And I'm not sure how that one's going to pan out. I'm still interested, but I'm not sure. There's a couple other things. Stellar Blade, I don't think we're going to spend too much time about. Matt, I know you mentioned Zenless Zone Zero, which was briefly shown off, which I know you're hyped about.
Oh my god, that looks so sick. I'm a fan of that like family of games too now.
The Hoyoverse.
Yeah. I've found myself very much like immersed in that. I'm playing the oh my god, it's the Star Rail, I think it is right now.
Star Rail.
Yeah, I'm playing that. But this, like, I mean, look, it had a character that's like a bear. All right. Like if there's a thing of like the weight of Matt's heart, it's like, making characters that kind of either look like or are animals. So like this has that plus that gorgeous sheen, like that anime sheen to it, and the combat looks fun. After seeing that, I saw that was after Stellar Blade, and they spent a lot of time on Stellar Blade, and I was like really kind of trying to get into that, and I was like, I just can't get into this. Like I don't know what's missing here, but man. And then they spend 30 seconds on that one. I was like, oh yeah, that's me. That's up my alley. It was kind of funny to see like so little time given to that, and it made such a big impression, and like it felt like 20 minutes to Stellar Blade, and I'm like, I still don't know what that game's about. That combat doesn't look super fun. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, this game's probably going to be huge because all their games are huge, especially in that free-to-play space. So I'm sure you will end up loving that game if you're already a fan of Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail.
They sent me wine for Christmas, but I've never played any of their games. So
Genshin Impact wine?
No, I haven't played any of it.
That's fascinating. All right. We're going to take a quick ad break. When we come back, Cade and I are going to break down our early thoughts on Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, and we will have Kofi and Matt kind of pick our brains about what we're thinking about this one as well. So we'll be back in a moment.
Got all the questions.
Time to talk Suicide Squad. Cade, you and I have had the game for about 2 days now. I have only played a couple hours. I don't know how far. You've definitely played more than me. So let's start with you. What are your early thoughts on Rocksteady's latest? Are you loving this, or are you kind of I don't know. This game's already very divisive, and it's not even technically out yet. I mean, we're in the early access phase, but it launches globally at the end of this week on February 2nd. Where are you landing with it so far, Cade?
I think love is a strong word. Definitely would not go that far. I don't hate it. But I'm also, it's always a bad sign when I feel like I have to kind of force myself to sit down and play something. Like, granted, this is a situation where we got a copy of a game for review the day it came out. So there's like a push to make sure I get my review out in a reasonable amount of time. But last night I was just like, I don't know if I'm really in the mood to play this, but I guess I will. And the story is cool for the most part so far. We'll see how long that holds up for. But the missions themselves, I think, are really rough. There's a lot of filler content where you're basically juggling like 4 different types of missions, which are like defend this objective, attack this objective, save these civilians, and bring them to this bus for 5 minutes. Like they all these timers, they all have like little meters and stuff. And it feels like in another game would be side content, or like even I think of games like Mass Effect 3, which had like co-op modes that were like okay, and people were like, we're not here for this. The gameplay is not good enough to justify this. And that's what it feels like for most of the game. These missions pad out most of the story and are like a way for the characters to be like, oh, you have to go destroy this objective to get this resource that is not actually in the mission. It's just kind of like in the ether, and then come back and trigger this cutscene. And then eventually you'll get like a more traditional mission that is a little bit more linear and cinematic or whatever. And I don't like that structure. It feels like there's probably only a few hours of the game that you would want to play in like a much larger game, especially in one that is all about end game content. Come back to the end game. And it's like, I don't even like what you're giving me in the main story.
Yeah, that's been the concerning thing, is that like, based on what I've played, I have not really been jiving with it too much out of the gate as well. And then just thinking about how this is supposed to be this ever-present live service game that they want you to come back for. I mean, they've already announced 4 seasons of content for this, and they've kind of detailed what those are going to look like. And it's like, okay, well, I don't really think I want to spend the next 12 to 18 months playing this game when I'm not really loving it in week 1. And this has been a problem with a lot of live service releases over the past few years. We've seen a lot of publishers try to enter this space, but when they come out of the gate, there's no meat on the bone. Like that's kind of why I feel like Anthem died with BioWare. That's why like even Destiny's been huge for years, and like they dropped the ball last year with their expansion and they lost a lot of players as a result. So like you really got to be on your A game. Mm-hmm. You've talked mainly about the gameplay though, and the story wise, I'm a hater of this, and I like, it's going to be hard for me to get to the end credits and change my mind about that, because I have just hated this game, I think, from minute 1. Like, I don't like how DC has been pushing the Suicide Squad so much over the past 10 or 15 years. I especially don't like how they've been pushing the Suicide Squad as people to go up against like these superhuman cataclysmic events. Like if the Justice League were mind controlled by Brainiac, like I don't think we're calling Captain Boomerang to come in and, you know, clean this mess up, you know, like, and that's been that was the case with the original Suicide Squad movie. I think James Gunn's version got it way more accurate, where they were like a black ops group on a secret mission that the government that's kind of off the books. That's what they're supposed to be. They're not supposed to be coming in to defeat Superman with guns. Like that. It's just the whole pitch of this game is extremely stupid in my mind, and as like a longtime DC fan, and I've already seen some of the stuff that happens later in the game, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but just like knowing where this game goes, I'm so puzzled with so many decisions that were made with this, and then tying it to the Arkham universe, which is so beloved and people have so many like strong feelings about, all of which are positive for so many people. Like, why is this tethered to the Arkham universe, and why does it feel like it's just so strange to me. I don't understand it.
The story of the game does not, because Batman is the only, and Harley Quinn are the only people in this game that were in the Arkham games. Like everyone else is like new to this universe, like possibly even to the extent that like they literally did not exist until after Arkham Knight within the canon. Like it seems to me that that's kind of the implication. I can't recall specifics, but there's a section early on where you go through a museum all about Batman.
I was going to talk about this exact thing. They detail what happens after Arkham Knight, because that game was left on a huge cliffhanger and had fans like wondering for the past 8 years, like what that ending was going to indicate for the future. And don't they just, I mean, this is a slight spoiler, I guess, but they just kind of say like, Batman just came back eventually. Yeah. He's just here.
It's kind of weird because for those that don't remember, at the end of Arkham Knight, Bruce Wayne's identity is revealed to the world by Scarecrow, and he then fakes his death. Is the implication. He goes back to Wayne Manor and blows it up for the world to see, assuming Bruce Wayne is dead. And then if you 100% the game, you get this extra scene that shows like a demon Batman still lurking around Batman or Gotham City, and it's like, is he using fear toxin? Like nobody has really had an answer. And I was hoping we would get an answer here, because they do mention it. They're like, yeah, there was this demon bat. And then Batman came back. And you're like, what do you mean? What was that? And they just don't talk about it. And basically the idea is just like Superman revealed himself to the world or whatever and created the Justice League and was like, hey, Batman, you want to come hang out? And he's like, yeah. After like 5 years of like being whatever that was. And they're just like, he just had a moment. Like he just had like a mental break and like, that's it. And and if you, my point there was going to be, if you remove that section of the game where you basically this museum walks you through all of the events of Arkham. So if you've never played the games or you need a refresher, you can go through these exhibits. If you remove that, there's nothing really there to really indicate that this is the Arkham Batman. Like it's all fairly loose. Like it's nice to know that Batman has gone through those things, but like you could have done something new. Like
yeah, just separate it from that universe. But I mean, I understand why Rocksteady would want to tie it to that universe. But at the same time, the thing that I think is particularly weird about it is that Rocksteady has been very vocal over the past decade of like, Arkham Origins, we're not tied to that. Like they don't even put that game in like the remastered collections that they've come out with. Like
which
that's
is
not
dumb because that's underrated. But
yeah, they're like that game. I think that game is considered canon, but they like to act like it's not. And then Gotham Knights was the same sort of thing where they're like, no, we're not tied to Gotham Knights. That's absolutely not us. And then when they do come back with but this is like far more disastrous to the Arkhamverse IP than anything else that could have been tethered to it. So I just have so many questions and I could probably rant about this for an hour because Rocksteady is one of my favorite developers and I'm just so confused with this.
I mean, it feels like they just got in a quagmire and they were just forced to double, triple, quadruple down on something like because in the end it's a thing we've seen with some superhero movies and things like that, but like it's just a question of like, who is this for? Like it doesn't seem like this is going to please the Arkham crowd. It doesn't seem like it's open or mainstream enough to please like just a mainstream DC crowd, or like the gameplay is accessible enough to just somebody who's like, ooh, Suicide Squad, I love that movie, like, and to come in and start playing with this. I don't think anybody from the Suicide Squad movies is going to be drawn to this. And like, it doesn't sound like it has its bells and like its T's crossed and its I's dotted well enough to be appealing to hardcore gamers in any kind of way, or any kind of dedicated kind of live service gamers. So like, who the hell is this for at the end of the day now?
Tara Strong fans.
It's really interesting.
She's the best part, right?
Yeah, she is really good as Harley Quinn. I will say controversies aside. Yeah. But it's interesting that you say it may not even appeal to like casual people. It doesn't feel like the game's accessible enough for that, because I started to feel that way playing it, where I was like, this is like an overwhelming experience where every 30 seconds there's a new menu popping up with like a wall of text being like, do this and change this and tweak this and like manage your stats. And it's like, I don't want to do that. Like, that's not the kind of gamer I am in general. I don't really go for those live service games that are like manage your loadout constantly. If I get a gun and it's cool, I want to keep using that gun, not have to like use the different color purple gun or whatever because it's slightly better. It's like that stuff bothers the hell out of me. And there's just all these screens that keep bombarding you and telling you all these new mechanics it's introducing, and it's like, I can't keep up. Stop, slow down. It's too much all of the time, and it feels like a game that's probably gone through a lot of different revisions and has had so this game's been in development for I think 7 or 8 years, and it feels like that because it feels like it's holding on to old trends, and it also feels like Rocksteady probably at one point was developing some other version of this game, and then someone came in and was like, you need to add these elements in, because there was a report that came out recently that said Rocksteady was working on a multiplayer game completely unconnected to DC prior to this, and then it got canceled because someone else was working on the Suicide Squad game. That didn't work out. I think they still wanted to do something with the brand, and now here we are, and it feels like all those things got mishmashed together in the most incoherent of ways. There are things that work. I would say it's better than like Marvel's Avengers, but that's a low bar in my opinion.
I was gonna say, look out, you're gonna offend Matt there.
How dare you? How dare you, sir?
No, I'm sorry.
I'll defend that game to my dying breath, but we'll have to see. This has to clear that bar.
That bar is on the floor for me.
How
So
dare you.
it literally had to just step over it.
How dare you.
But yeah, as of right now, I'm not over the moon on it. I don't hate it. I think a lot of the hate is coming from a lot of people who haven't played the game for the most part. I think there are things that work in this favor. The gameplay itself, like the traversal and stuff, is really solid.
Depending on the character you choose.
Depending on the character. Harley Quinn has like the worst traversal. I don't
King Shark's not
understand
very
how that
fun
fell
either.
apart.
It's
Yeah.
just
So
jump high.
Deadshot's really cool to play as, and he's a lot of fun. But yeah, I don't know how this is gonna work long term.
You and I are going to talk more about this, I think, at a later date. We're going to do a full-blown spoiler cast about this. The final thing I'll say is, like, even at a publisher level, like, if things are being pushed on Rocksteady, like, we need this and implement this feature and do this. It's like, we have so many examples from the past where, like, these things have not worked. Like, people are tired of these gear systems. People are tired of microtransaction stores. People are tired. Like, this is stuff I thought we all learned like 5 or 6 years ago. So for then a game to come out like this in 2024, it is really jarring when like it was obvious last year when they really started showing this off in depth that this wasn't going to hit with fans. Like, and then I get that they have to push out the product that they've made, but it's more question like how this even happened in the first place. So you and I are going to talk more about that in the future. I think short version though for now, Kofi and Matt, if you guys are on the fence about jumping in, is maybe wait for a sale. Maybe wait for Black Friday to roll around if you want to.
Guardians of the Galaxy $20 sale, type deal, $19.99 sale. It'll be here soon.
That's what I was gonna say. Sooner than you think, probably.
Yeah.
All right, man. Wow, what a wait for this. I remember when we started covering the news about this. Oh, my God.
That was like 2020, I think.
Yeah. It was at the first DC fandom.
Yep. I remember that.
That was insane. So we did it, fellas. We're here. Yay. But at least, hey, silver lining. That game might be right in the next few weeks. Will be rough for Rocksteady, but it's good for quick save. So there we are.
True. Gives us plenty to talk about. To that end, we will be doing this more in the future. If you are interested in hearing us talk more about video games, obviously this year is going to be a huge year. We've got GTA 6 on the horizon. We've got new Switch console probably on the horizon. So there's going to be a lot of stuff we're going to break down in the months ahead. Be sure to subscribe to our Comic Book Nation feeds. Follow us over on YouTube as well. You can also follow us all over on social media as well. I'm at Moreman12. Cade, where are you at?
At Cade_onder.
Kofi, where are you at?
You can find me at Kofi Outlaw and on the regular Comic Book Nation show every Friday at noon Eastern Time, live on these channels.
Yep, and then Matt, you're there too. And where are you at on socials?
I'm at Matt Aguilar CB on Threads. Also, thank you, Torch, for the Megazord shout out. I appreciate it.
As far as quick save goes moving forward, I think we're going to try to record this on Thursdays and have this up on Thursdays, maybe not every week, but more often than not. So if you're keeping an eye out on the feeds and stuff like that, you can look for things on that day of the week each week. Until then, thank you guys for joining us on this inaugural showing, and we'll be back here in the future. Bye-bye.
Peace.